Before you walk into a big presentation, before you step into that important meeting, before you pitch that room full of people, your brain is already telling you a story. And for most people, that story sounds something like this. Do I even know enough for this room? What if I make a mistake? I've never done this before. I'm just not good at this. My voice sounds weird. My name is Mtabisi, and I've coached hundreds of founders, executives, and professionals as a public speaking coach. And I can tell you those exact sentences show up in almost every single person I work with. The words might be slightly different, but the story is always the same. And that story is costing you more than you think. Here's what most people don't realize about those thoughts. They feel like they're just being realistic. They feel like your brain is just preparing you, keeping you sharp, keeping you humble. But research tells a very different story. A study published in the journal Personality and Individual Differences found that self-critical self-talk before speaking is directly linked to higher anxiety. The more you talk yourself down before a big moment, the more anxious you become. And the more anxious you become, the worse you perform. That's not preparation, that's self-sabotage. And the reason your brain does it isn't because you're weak. It's because your brain is wired for survival. When something feels uncertain, when the stakes feel high, your brain defaults to worst case scenarios. Honestly, it's trying to protect you. It's scanning for every possible threat so that it can keep you safe. The problem is your brain can't tell the difference between a genuine threat and a big presentation. It treats both of those things the same way. So before you even open your mouth, you've already rehearsed failing. I know this because I've lived it. Early in my career, I worked at an accounting firm, and there were so many opportunities to speak, networking events, meetings, moments where I could have raised my hand and added value, but I turned most of them down. Not because I didn't have something to say, but because the story running in my head was louder than my ambition. What if I mess up? What if I sound like I don't know what I'm talking about? I rehearsed those scenarios so many times that it became almost impossible to imagine a world where speaking up actually went well. So I did it less than I wanted to, less than I was capable of, and I watched opportunities pass me by. That's what rehearsing failure does. It doesn't just make you nervous in the moment, it makes you smaller and smaller over time. So if your brain naturally defaults to the worst case scenario, how do you change that story? Here's what the science says. Research in neuroscience has found that when you vividly imagine performing something successfully, your brain fires off the same signals as if you were actually doing it. It can't fully tell the difference between something you rehearse mentally and something you've actually done. Which means that you and I have the ability to pre-program your brain for success before you ever even walk into a room. So the question is, what are you rehearsing? Most people rehearse failure. What if I forget what I'm going to say? What if they don't respond well? What if I look nervous? They run that mental movie over and over and over again and then wonder why they feel terrible walking into these rooms. What I teach my clients is to intentionally rehearse the best case scenario instead. Not wishful thinking, not blind optimism. Deliberately, mentally rehearse success. So here's 2 things you can start doing before your next presentation. Number 1, catch the story. Before your next big moment, speaking, stop and notice what story is running in your head. Don't judge it, just notice it. Write it down if you have to. I don't know enough. They're going to judge me. What if I mess up? Just naming the story takes away some of its power. You're no longer inside it, you are watching it. Number 2, rehearse the best case scenario. Once you've caught the story, replace it with this question. What is the best thing that could happen as a result of me speaking in this room today? Maybe the meeting goes well because people understood exactly what I said. Someone in that room walks away with a new way of thinking. The pitch lands because I was clear and confident and present. Run that movie instead. Your brain will start preparing for that outcome. And research confirms it. Mentally rehearsing success creates neural pathways that make that success more familiar, more achievable, more likely. So stop rehearsing failure. Start rehearsing the best case. The story that you tell yourself before you speak is not just noise in your head. It is the single biggest factor in how you show up in a room. I've seen it in founders before pitching that have rehearsed success and then been able to command a room. I've seen it in executives who rewrite the story they've been telling themselves for years and become completely different communicators. When the story you tell yourself changes, everything around you changes too. If this resonated with you, make sure you watch my next video, and I'll see you there.